Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Toronto Global's International Summit, Stronger Than Ever. I am Mark Cohan, the chair of the board of Toronto Global, and I'd like to welcome you from around the world. I probably should have said good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, because we have participants from 50 countries around the world. When I look at the list, the registration list, it's quite amazing. New Zealand, Hong Kong, France, the UK, the United States, Peru, just to name a few. And today, what we want to do, we want to leave you sharing the excitement and enthusiasm we have for the Toronto region. And to get you thinking about that, we've partnered with the International Economic Forum of the Americas to bring together an all-star cast of speakers from around the world, both here live at Billy Bishop Airport in downtown Toronto, and also in many countries around the world. We have speakers from India to the UK to Silicon Valley. The one thing they all share in common is they're here to celebrate Toronto and the Toronto region, to celebrate the reopening of our economy, to fuel new investment in our region, and to share that enduring confidence that we all have in the Toronto region, that this is the best place to live, to work, to visit, and to invest. Now, I say that with pride and with confidence. I say it because I'm a Canadian who has lived in 4 different countries around the world and has probably conducted business in about 35 different nations. And I'm going to be a little bit un-Canadian for the moment right now. I want to boast for a minute. It's not part of our DNA, but I'm going to do that. I call it Canadian swagger. It's confidence but humble, proud but not being cocky. And as we emerge from this global pandemic and we go through our cycles like everyone else, we are looking to build a stronger, more resilient, and more inclusive Toronto region for the future. And I'm confident we can do that because we have a great foundation in place. Now, if I could boast for a minute, Toronto really is the business and financial capital of Canada. We represent 20% of the GDP of our nation. We have the fastest growing tech talent pool in North America, even more than Silicon Valley, growing by over 40% in the last 5 years. We are the second safest city in the world. That really talks to our quality of life. We are one of the greenest cities in the world. If you just saw the video that we showed before the conference started, it's amazing. You took a helicopter, you would see 80-story buildings and millions of trees and rivers and lakes. It's quite a remarkable place. Now, I'm also excited about our music talent. We have the greatest artists in the world coming from Toronto. Think of Drake, The Weeknd, Shawn Mendes, Alessia Cara. Justin Bieber, we'll count him too. A little outside of Toronto, but not close to home. And most importantly, we are one of the most diverse cities in the world, with over 51% of our residents being born outside of Canada. And we welcome almost 100,000 immigrants every year to our country. I talk to my daughter all the time, Parker, who's 15 years old, and I say, Parker, you can be a citizen of the world just by going to your classroom and sharing it with kids from around the world. Now, for all of these reasons, this is why, even through the pandemic, this is why companies continue to invest in the Toronto region. We have companies joining us today who have invested here over the last 18 months. Companies like household names like Reddit, and HCL and Infosys and Sanofi and Pinterest. We want to thank them for believing in what we believe in about Toronto. Now today we are going to have some stimulating and insightful conversations with global business leaders and government leaders. For those in the audience who are from the Toronto region, I want you to think about this, about these conversations today. I want you to be proud of the place we call home, where we live and work, and be confident in our collective future. And for the global audiences, for those 50 nations around the world that are tuning in today, this really is an open invitation to become here and be a part of this dynamic and growing business and cultural community that we call Toronto. We want to ensure that the Toronto region leads our country's recovery and cements its place as the best place to invest in North America. And as we get ready to kick off this conference, we're thrilled to be hosting it here at our downtown airport, our second airport in the city, Billy Bishop Airport, which recently was ranked as, I think, one of the top 10 in the world in terms of amazing landings. You land over the water and you see the downtown core. It's quite remarkable and beautiful. But it's a sign of our recovery and us opening up. We also want to thank our many sponsors who have made this possible today. Ports Toronto, Newport Aviation, the Globe and Mail, and Air Canada. Thank you to all of them for supporting us today. In a minute, I'm going to turn over the stage to some great leaders, people that have shown us through some difficult times for our province, for our country, and for the world. They are Ontario Doug Ford, our Premier, and Mayor John Tory. These are two dynamic leaders who share their passion for Toronto and its recovery, and you will see it when you hear from them shortly. I want to thank you for joining us today. It's going to be a great few hours of interesting conversations, and most importantly, I hope over the next year we can actually host you here in Toronto and you can fall in love with the city that we love so much. It's now my pleasure to turn over to the stage our CEO of Toronto Global, a man who recently moved back to Toronto and fell in love with it again, Stephen Lund. Thanks, Stephen.
Thanks, Mark. Welcome, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Again, as Mark said, my name is Stephen Lund. I'm the CEO of Toronto Global. We work with organizations across the GTA. We work with the federal government, the provincial government, the municipalities to help drive new business growth to this region. I must say it's great to be back at Billy Bishop Airport. Just to see the excitement and the energy, it's great to see us back. It's also great to put a tie on again. It's been quite a while, and a proper pair of pants. So welcome, everybody. Great. We have a great lineup today of speakers, the Premier, the Mayor. We also have joining us by video, Mayor Crombie, Mayor Brown, and we have some world-leading executives from some terrific companies. So again, let's get started. First of all, look, these last 18 months have been difficult. I know that on a lot of businesses and a lot of companies. But one thing I do know is we will get through this. We will come back stronger. We've got terrific leadership here at all levels of government, in our communities, and in our business community. So we're really looking forward to getting back on track. I also want to mention that when we started looking at putting a summit together, it started off a conversation the Mayor and I and Mark had a few months ago. We were hoping to get 300 or 400 people. I can proudly say that we're over 1,500 people representing 50 countries around the world. So thank you so much for joining us for this exciting time. As I mentioned, we've got a great lineup, so let's get started. On video, we have Premier Doug Ford joining us, a dedicated community leader, successful businessman, a passionate advocate for the people of our province. His commitment to public service expands over 20 years, and he's been key in driving new investment and creating jobs in our province, and also leading us through these difficult times the last 18 months. So I'll turn it over to Premier Ford, and thank you for joining us.
Well, good morning, everyone. It's a real pleasure and privilege to address the Toronto Global Summit. A special thanks to you, Stephen Lund, for your leadership and efforts in bringing this together. The work that Toronto Global does is so important and will be crucial to our success as we continue the fight against COVID-19. And I want to take a moment to recognize the leadership of Newport Aviation for their incredible management of the airport, and to reaffirm how important that it is for the City of Toronto and the entire province. And I know Mayor Tory, who continues to be an exceptional partner throughout this pandemic, would agree with me on that. As I stand here, we're at a pivotal moment in our battle with this ever-changing virus. We've been in this fight for over 18 months, a once-in-a-generation health crisis that has forced governments around the world to make difficult choices in an effort to protect the health and safety of our people. Because protecting people's health has always been and always will be our top objective. But the decisions we made came with a significant cost, a cost felt by many, including business owners, who were each asked to sacrifice so much. Throughout this pandemic, as new variants arrived, business owners constantly adapted to a changing environment, one that demanded they pivot their operations, but in true Ontario spirit, they responded. They did what was necessary to help protect all Ontarians. For that, we are forever grateful. And we said that we'd always have their backs. That was a promise, and we are working every day to make sure we keep that promise. Whether it was financial support, resources for employers, or helping them evolve digitally, supporting Ontario businesses was at the forefront of this government's efforts. And now, having delivered a world-leading vaccine rollout, what businesses of all sizes need is stability and certainty. So as we continue to live with this virus, we're able to find safe ways to move forward, confident in our ability to protect Ontarians. That is why Ontario will require proof of vaccination for certain settings, effective September 22nd. Along with the most cautious reopening in Canada, Ontario's vaccine certificate is another step to ensure we don't need to return to lockdowns, and will give our business community the comfort to continue operating. But we must stay cautious. We must always be careful. We can't jeopardize the hard-earned gains we've made. As I said earlier, we're at a pivotal time in our fight against this terrible, terrible virus. The choices we make now will have an immediate and lasting effect for Ontario. We're determined to continue with a cautious approach to managing COVID, one that prioritizes people's health while causing as little disruption as possible to our valued business community. And I can guarantee you this, and you've heard me say it many times before, once we have beaten this pandemic, Ontario will once again be the best destination anywhere in the world to do business, because we know that governments don't create jobs. They create the environment and conditions for jobs to be created. And that's what we will continue to do. And I am 100% confident that the economy of this province and this city will take off like never before. And Toronto Global will be leading the charge. So thank you again for all the exceptional work you do. Stay safe, and God bless.
Thank you so much for joining us, Premier. And again, thank you for your tremendous leadership over these past 18 months. We're going to have a quick video, and then we're going to ask the Mayor to join us and say a few words.
Take it all in. Show up early. Stay late. Really late. Live your passion. Leave an impression. Commit. Get out. Get in. Embrace the moment. Hold. 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 Ah. Overdo it. Do more. Leave less. Breathe. Get the bag. Keep one packed. Don't put it off. Because when we make it count, we rise higher.
I would now like to welcome to the stage Mayor John Tory, a successful lawyer and businessman, but really what we know Mr. John Tory for is really his leadership over the past 18 months, getting us through these difficult times. But also, if you think about it, since 2014, the tremendous growth of our city. We're one of the most diverse cities in the world, one of the fastest growing, a hotbed for technology, arts, music, you name it. And it's all come under his watch. And we really appreciate what he's done for our city and for his leadership. So I'm going to ask the mayor to join us and say a few words.
Well, Stephen, thank you. And I want to begin by saying how pleased I am to be here at the Stronger Than Ever Summit. What a great title for a city region that continues to go from strength to strength and has come out of the pandemic, or is coming out of the pandemic in a way that I think represents opportunity for all the people that have joined us today. And I'm so glad that you have joined us, people from around the world, to hear a message of welcome, a message of determination on our part to be the best home that we could possibly be for people from around the world to invest and create jobs. And I'm a proud spokesperson and promoter of the entire region. I'm one of those who believes that this is good for Canada to have a region the strength of Southern Ontario and of the Greater Toronto area. I'm also one who believes that the city that I have the privilege to lead, the City of Toronto, will be a beneficiary regardless of where in the region people choose to invest and to create jobs. And so I'm out there with my colleagues, some of whom you'll hear from today, promoting the region, but also, of course, promoting the city that I lead, the City of Toronto. And so it is one of those things where it is not as good as having 400 people in a room, as Stephen said, but we're just delighted, and it's more convenient for you not having to travel as far as to come here, but we do hope that we can welcome you going forward in person. I am very proud to say that the Toronto region and the City of Toronto itself are global success stories, and I'm proud of that. It is something we've worked hard to achieve. People before me have worked very hard to create the foundations for success that are in place in Toronto today. And I believe that the foundations that have been put in place, including in particular our welcoming of people from around the world to build up our population, 51% of whom, as was mentioned, are people who were born outside of the country. But this has been a blessing for us. We've got the most diverse city region in the world here, and we're taking full advantage of all the smart people that have come our way from around the world and all that they've brought with them. We are working hard at City Hall to produce a strong recovery for the City of Toronto and with our partners in the region. The work that the Premier outlined that the province is doing, same thing. And I completely endorse what he said about the need for us to be cautious in doing that, but we're being cautious and determined at one and the same time to make sure that we can serve well those businesses who are already here, which we try very hard to do, but also to attract new businesses and new jobs to this city region. That will be made easier by the fact we have worked hard over the last number of months, and we've worked in partnership with one another. I've had an excellent working relationship before the pandemic, but also very importantly during the pandemic with Prime Minister Trudeau and with Premier Ford and their governments, and we have done everything we can to help people and businesses get through what has been a most difficult time. We have made sure that businesses, well, we looked after vulnerable people first and foremost, that businesses were not left behind in that regard, and I think that it's helped a lot of them to have the support of their governments, plural, in getting through this very difficult period. The fight against the pandemic and against COVID-19 is not over, but we are much closer to the end than we are to the beginning, and I think that is the same experience that I hope most of you are experiencing in different parts of the world. In our case, a lot of that is thanks to the residents who live in this region. I can speak in the case of the City of Toronto to the fact that 78% of our population of millions have been fully vaccinated now. 83% have had their first dose, and there's a few that are on their way to the second dose, but that is a number that is respectable in any quarter of the world, and that is thanks to the efforts we've all made together, but including the people that have stepped forward as individuals to get vaccinated. This has allowed us to begin the task of reopening and recovering and renewing, and that is important to our entire country because this region, as was mentioned by Mark, represents 20% of the entire national economy, one of the biggest economies in the world. And I want to say that Toronto Global has carried on with its work, and I'm so proud I've been involved with Toronto Global since its inception, and under the leadership of Stephen as CEO and Mark as chair, they're doing a great job to even put on something like this to remind people of the fact that we're here, we're welcoming, we're embracing, we're supporting, and that we've carried on doing that throughout the entire pandemic. And today we find in the city region, of which Toronto is at the heart, that the restaurants are open. Our baseball team, the Toronto Blue Jays, are back. There are fans in the stands watching them. Our city halls are open to serve the public. Students at all levels. I was just out celebrating the first day of school in the city of Toronto today for most of the primary and secondary students. They're back. The university and college students are back to in-class learning, and I think that was important as well for their well-being, but also for the effectiveness of what is a very excellent public education system. And just right here yesterday at this incredible downtown airport, where you are as close as it looks. If you could look behind me and see the buildings of the financial district, they're right there. And you land within minutes of those buildings at this airport. And this airport opened itself up again for commercial business just yesterday. So this is all great progress, which is laying the groundwork for a great recovery. And that strong recovery includes you. We want it to include you, not just in the recovery, but well beyond what I know will be a strong and lasting recovery. And so we created this summit to tell you about Toronto's success, the success of this region, and our commitment to a robust economic recovery and a robust economic growth and investment going forward. We are incredibly focused on encouraging and securing more jobs, more business, and more tourism here in the entire Greater Toronto area. I'm determined as mayor to support this restart and continue my job, which I undertook long before the pandemic began, promoting this region as a great place to invest, a great place to live, a great place to do business. Even during the pandemic, global corporations like Netflix, like Reddit, like Twitter, like Infosys said yes to investing in the Toronto region, and many Toronto-based companies like Wattpad and Wealthsimple and The Score recommitted themselves to making bigger investments here, staying here, creating more jobs here. And so it must mean beyond looking after and supporting and I'll call it selling people on being here, that we're doing something right, that those people would all want to be here. We know that the Greater Toronto tech system, for example, experienced its best quarter ever in the first quarter of 2021 of all times, to have the best quarter ever in terms of money raising. $1.15 billion was raised to support that tech ecosystem during that quarter of 2021 as we just began to emerge from a terrible pandemic, the largest quarter ever in terms of investment dollars and the number of deals that those represented. Here are key facts that I want you to take away from today. And as Mark said, we're not big on sort of boasting and bragging, but we just want you to know some of the facts that are important for you as business people when you make decisions. You want to rely on facts. You want to rely on our attitude, but you want to rely more than anything else on facts. First, you've heard it before, but once again, the Toronto region is one of the fastest growing and largest metropolitan regions in all of North America. Toronto itself, the city of Toronto itself, is the fourth biggest city in North America. By 2041, the region is projected to grow to nearly 10 million people from 7 million today. So even today, it is a very big metropolitan region in North American terms. Secondly, from 2013 to 2019, 80,000 tech jobs were created in the Toronto-Waterloo corridor alone, more than in San Francisco, Seattle, and Washington, D.C. combined. And we're committed to continuing that job growth in the wake of the pandemic. In fact, it has continued alongside that incredible investment that I made reference to a moment ago. The tech ecosystem is driven by a talent pool that is as big as it is diverse, and that pool is continuously being fed by 18 excellent colleges and universities in this region alone, and by a very welcoming approach to immigration. There's not much debate about immigration here. In fact, there's virtually none, because we know what a blessing it has been for our country. We know it has built the population that is 51% born in other countries, and what a blessing those people have brought to our economy and to our city and to our way of life. Thirdly, we are Canada's economic engine. As I said earlier, the Toronto region's economy represents 20% of Canada's entire GDP. Fully 1/5 of one of the world's largest economies is centered right here. Fourth, the Toronto region's prime location provides businesses with excellent North American and international market access, including a market of 130 million people within a 500-mile radius. And that includes fantastic transportation, including this very airport downtown in the heart of Toronto. Fifthly, as the business and financial capital of Canada, the Toronto region is home to 40% of Canada's business headquarters across every sector you could name. We are, in our own right, a respected global financial capital and a respected capital for many other industries. Sixth, Toronto ranks as the urban center with the most cranes in all of North America. And that really, I guess, is meant to tell you that there is confidence in this city going forward. 208 construction cranes working on various large-scale developments right at this moment in time, representing almost 1/3 of all of the construction cranes in cities across North America. That's confidence, that's jobs, that's economic activity, that's ourselves preparing for people to come and invest here and to live here in the city of Toronto. Our economy was extremely strong before the pandemic, and that success will continue because we have everything here in the Toronto region to fuel that success. The talent pool, the talent pipeline, I mentioned those colleges and universities and the work we do with our union partners to train and apprentice people. The quality of life, these continue to make the Toronto region a magnet for investment and smart people. Most importantly, we are a place that everyone can call home. Toronto is the most diverse major city in the world. That was backed up by the BBC. They one time said that they thought it was London. The BBC did their own fact-checking, not at our urging, and came back and said, no, in fact, Toronto was the most diverse city in the world. 51% of our residents born outside the country, 170 languages and dialects spoken here. But it's more than just what languages are spoken or how many nationalities are represented. We embrace people from all over the world. We gain from them. We learn from them. We celebrate the fact that we're different in some respects in our background, and we make that work for not just the benefit of ourselves as people, but for the businesses that are here. We're proud of that diversity, and we're committed to embracing every single person without exception who lives in our city region. More than 100,000 immigrants find their way to the Toronto region as their new home. They choose to come here every single year, 100,000 people every year. So I hope that I have conveyed to you why the Toronto region is the right place to invest and the right place to grow your business. I am very optimistic. I've been saying this since the darkest days of the pandemic. Why have I been optimistic throughout that time? And to add to the Premier's words, he used the words stability and certainty, and those are very important to me as the Mayor as well, but I would also add optimism and hope and vigilance. Vigilance against the pandemic and vigilance against things that would disrupt this way of life, this calm way in which we want to welcome businesses and innovation here. But I have remained optimistic because all of the fundamentals that led to the growth of this city region are still here. The talent is still here. The industrial concentrations in various industries are still here. The talent pipeline is still here, providing excellent graduates from our colleges and universities. And Toronto Global is still here to make sure that we can do everything we can to have you understand what a great place this is to invest and do business and to support you once you get here. We know that the best way that we can help our residents recover from the pandemic, the best way we can help Canada to recover from this pandemic is to make sure that we are strong economically. And that means that we have to help our businesses, help them to come here, help them when they get here to have a stable, solid footing, help them to grow, because that will create the wealth that will in turn make sure that we can support our population with the excellent programs, including healthcare and education, that we pride ourselves on. We want you to help us to be stronger in this country and to help be stronger in this city region. And that can come from your making the choice to come here, to expand here, to join many people who have already chosen to make Toronto their home. And we are trying to keep that success story going, which I'm sure we'll be able to do, so that we can stand here and give meaning to those words that are behind me and that are really overseeing this entire gathering today stronger than ever. So thank you very much for your attention, and I will look forward to welcoming you in person as you come to visit us as circumstances permit. Thank you very much.